2017 KTM 1290 Super Duke R. As soon as you begin mentally mapping the featureless layout of the Losail International Circuit, it gets dark, the floodlights come on and the track layout changes in a surreal manner. A desert haze drifts through the infield, and in addition to remembering if the approaching corner is the slow left one or the fast left one, you're also now looking through face shield glares and the occasional glimpse of you passing your own shadow. Steadfast among all these nocturnal distractions is the familiarity of the Super Duke R's performance, its booming exhaust note, and that deliciously torquey V-twin. The Beast 2.0 is the next-gen super nasty naked from KTM, an upgraded version of what is arguably the most dominant naked street fighter this side of an Aprilia 200. Messing around too much with a model already in possession of the class mantle is a way to either ensure continued dominance or to self-sabotage by delivering unpopular changes. Thankfully, KTM seems to have chosen the better route of polishing the rough edges of its flagship model, while also gifting the SDR with a variety of useful electronic upgrades, thus avoiding any fall from grace such as what happened with Suzuki's SV650 to Gladius misfire. Changes to the 2017 model were reported in our November preview of the Super Duke R, so having now ridden the bike, let's focus on the performance and usefulness of these upgrades. And to begin, we go right to what we love most about the SDR, its 75 degrees V-twin LC8 engine. A compression ratio bump of 0.4, 13.61 versus 13.21, new pistons and exhaust system reportedly gives the SDR a claimed increase of 4 more horsepower, while KTM says torque remains the same at 104 pounds-foot of torque. Having number 2016 model with which to make a direct comparison, it's awful hard to say if this minor increase can be felt, and that's largely because of how powerful and user-friendly last year's engine was already known to be. What we know for certain is beneficial is the extra 500 RPM the twin has to spin up to. This gain in over-rev allowed a few sections of Losail to be taken in a single gear, whereas the 2016 SDR most likely would have required a brief upshift before arriving at the corner. Sticking with performance, we move on to what are the performance highlights of the 2017 model. Electronics. Cornering ABS, CABS, was actually introduced on the 2016 model, but deserves mention again. Kevin Duke and I tested this technology earlier this year on a specially equipped 1190 Adventure, and came away convinced of its safety advantages on the street. Also integrated into last year's model were traction control and ABS, but these were tied to the selectable ride modes with preset parameters and no way to adjust for personal preferences other than switching them off. For 2017, the base model SDR comes with selectable ABS with 2 modes, Road and Supermoto, as well as off. The road setting keeps ABS and CABS functional at both wheels, and it works best at street speeds and braking forces. For the track, you'll want to switch to the Supermoto setting as it turns off ABS at the rear wheel, CABS altogether, and allows for much more aggressive front-end braking. The difference between the two settings is night and day. Forgetting to check which brake setting the bike was in before leaving for session 2, I promptly returned to the pits thinking something was wrong with the front brake, only to learn it was in road mode and not Supermoto. Switching to Supermoto solved the problem, which was the only issue I experienced with the SDR during the entire tracks. Further personalization is realized with the purchase of the optional track package, which includes track ride mode, in addition to street, sport, rain, the option to disengage the anti-wheelie function, launch control, adjustable traction control, and a choice of street, sport, or track throttle sensitivity. Switching off the anti-wheelie function enables the hooligan in most riders, but even with anti-wheelie working, the SDR will loft the front wheel into a shallow wheelie when powering out of corners. See main image. The SDR's Bosch traction control system worked fine on the previous model Super Duke R, but the added benefit of adjusting the system to account for changing track or tire conditions is a function we've been fond for years. The SDR system works quietly in the background, keeping things from getting out of hand, which is easy to do when cranked into a corner on a bike with this much torque, with the only indication it's working being the flashing light on the instrument cluster. A new electronic feature that comes standard on the base model Super Duke R for 2017 is cruise control. Located on the left handlebar just above the traditional switchgear, the system requires at least third gear be selected to be operational and will maintain speeds between 38 and 120 miles per hour. The system went untested during this press launch, but we've sampled other KTMs with cruise control, and we expect the SDRs to function as well as those. What remains to be seen is how easily reachable the buttons are, or if there's some other idiosyncrasy giving us reason to complain. Chassis dimensions, curb weight and the estimable Brembo monoblock M50 calipers remain the same as before, but KTM did see fit to change the WP shock and fork. The shock comes with a stiffer preload setting, which is adjustable, while fork spring rates were increased slightly. The new fork also boasts the separation of compression and rebound damping into the left and right fork legs, respectively. This was already an attribute of last year's fork. On the track, the new Super Duke R felt very much like the old Super Duke R. By itself, it's an incredibly formidable motorcycle, but without any geometry changes to this new version, we expect the SDR to feel slightly less nimble when ridden in the company of some of its more agile competitors. Again, this is no revelation, as in previous shootouts it's been well documented that the SDR owns the longest wheelbase and most relaxed rake trail numbers. But for the common street rider occasionally taking his Super Duker to a track day, does it matter? Not at all. My recommendation is to install KTM's available rear seats, because you may run out of ground clearance on the track with the stock units. And don't worry too much about decreased legroom, as the SDR has room to spare. A one-day track outing usually isn't enough to proclaim anything definitive about any motorcycle. Except maybe this one. New features such as cruise control, upgraded suspension and a few more horsepower will certainly help the base model SDR stay competitive in future shootouts. Outfitted with the optional performance and track packages, there's little doubt of any other naked street fighter giving the Super Duke R much competition, except for the Italian nemesis, the Aprilia Tuono, which also enjoys some upgrades for 2017.